Hi, Thomas. Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you, Dharam, for organizing these calls. We had a long gap in recording these webinars, but now we are restarting, and I think it's perfect. So I was quite busy, I was visiting Japan to see some old friends when I
Hmm?
was at IBM and covering Japanese clients. I made a lot of friends, and this somehow suits to today's topic. With intercultural relationships and conflicts, I certainly have some experience here. And then I was visiting Barcelona in Spain for two PMI meetings. So the first meeting was a leadership meeting attended by about 250 people
Hmm?
across Europe. So chapter boards were there from Germany alone, 14 people, and then was also the global summit in Europe, attended by about 900 people, and all the time Pierre Le Mans was there, and a lot of PMI staff and some other board members. So very, very enlightening and interesting.
Good to see you're a busy man, always traveling, visiting places, doing talking. That's great. So I'm grateful to have you as my podcast partner. So as we are talking, we've probably gone through probably 80 or something podcasts. So more and more, it's a free talks. We have topic and talk, and people are liking it. So I have a very interesting topic, and maybe it is aligned with a lot of people, a lot of project managers, program managers. So let me tell you about the topic. Topic is about conflict resolution, especially multicultural projects and program. Whether conflict resolution can be in any environment, and given that we're talking global, or global teams, or you have a team which is people
Mhm.
dispersed around the world, and multicultural, different religion, different time zone. So conflict resolution in that situation, how do we handle such situation?
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask my question here. Can you explain why conflict resolution is particularly challenging in multicultural project team, and how it differs from conflict resolution in more homogeneous teams?
Yes, in homogeneous teams or in teams that belong to the same culture, like if I'm in Germany, I'm very much used to have conflict with people, and we have it all days. And if you go out in this attitude as Germans, we are often perceived as being very blunt and maybe damaging relationships and everything. So we very early, when we go into vacation, let's say to Italy or to Spain, we feel, that we are not very welcome with this attitude. So,
Mhm.
and luckily we are empathetic to that, and then we can adapt our say our stance in conflicts. And this led to the success of Germans in global relations. So in experts, we were one of the most expert-driven nations. We still are, and that wouldn't happen if we would not be able to adapt to local cultures. Yeah. So if you have a homogeneous team, everybody from childhood, is accustomed to this kind of conflict resolution. But if you are, let's say, in a culture that is more non-Western, in Asian cultures, they are more into face saving, and they don't want to have open conflict in discussions, and they don't want really, um, well, they want to have a harmonious relationship, and still there is a same reason for conflict in our world, in the Western world or the Asian world, but you have to adapt to different things. So what helped me to understand this a lot was um, Hofstede's cultural dimensions. If you haven't heard about Hofstede, he also was an IBMer in 1980s. He was asked by IBM to find out, what are the guidelines for managers going abroad to other countries, how they should behave in certain cultural environments. And he found first four cultural dimensions. Now they are six. So it has been one of the cornerstones of intercultural research, because it was all scientific research. And he still has a website, so where you can for free compare country cultures, and then I always use this tool. If I go to a country, and I had a rollout of SAP out of Germany with for a Japanese client, so two cultures, and then we went to Russia, three
Yeah.
cultures. So now, what you have to do in the beginning, you have to bring these three nations together in a room, and well, they are not all prototypes of these national cultures. They are individuals, and they
Yeah.
may behave quite differently. But yeah, in these workshops, always they said, yeah, that's true. And because the differences in the cultures are very much um, unaware in the moment. But if they become aware, though, there is a kind of cohesion in the team. It helps to invest this time of a 1 or 2 day cultural workshop, and based on this Hofstede dimension, but also on other things, because it creates awareness, and also some kind of caution, because you understand, okay, you respect the other person. If it's a Russian or an Indian, as a German, you understand, okay, I must somehow adapt my behavior, behave, yeah, and because the common goal is to make this project happen, and we all
Yeah.
know it's the best way if it works together. So
Mm.
yes, so some of the conflict resolution approaches, are first that you are aware of the conflict, because some people feel a conflict only in the gut. They feel well, uncomfortable, anxious, whatever, maybe afraid, maybe threatened, you know. So if you see the political approaches, there's a lot of threats putting out, and these are only targeting, the feelings, and then you feel threatened, and you establish a kind of anger and hate. This is all not good for business, not good for projects. You have to somehow calm down your own emotional reaction. So, which is a part of emotional intelligence, that you are
Yeah.
self-controlling your emotions, and how they developed. Um, that's awareness. You should be aware of what's happening. Then, if you are in a real clash with somebody in your own culture or in other cultures, it's always good to have somebody neutral. As a project manager, if you see a conflict in your team, it's your task to be that neutral mediator. You should not step in and take sides, but you should say, okay, uh, let me understand what you are now doing. What's the problem is. And my experience is, if you ask these kind of questions, first they start to think, and the emotions are a little bit damped down. But secondly, if they talk about the problem, then they become more rational, and you can really find now, not you find a solution, but they find a solution, and they suggest how to solve that problem. It's not of use just to calm down the people, and let them not discuss about the underlying issue. But my experience is, in more than 50% of cases, this problem goes away, because
Mhm.
it was just escalated to a certain extent, and nobody wanted to step back. Nobody wanted to give a concession. But that's what you have to do. Find a common ground between these people, conflicting parties, and then let them work on this common ground to extend it. And say, okay, do we have to have a emotional discussion about it? And the answer to this question is always not really. It's
Mm.
better if we go on and solve this small thing. You adapt your communication.
Yeah.
Um, what you also can do is, and you should do, is to understand what active listening is. Active listening, is something when you, as a mediator, for instance, you only ask questions. You never give a statement. And you try to reinforce people saying something, and try to ask questions that are in the form of, can you explain this a little bit more in detail, or what do, and then the other, what do you feel about it, so that they get into a interpersonal exchange. So I
Yeah.
think, it's in intercultural teams, it's more important to understand how to solve conflicts, and yeah, you have also to understand uh, awareness, on both sides. An interesting fact, was also in, a point, the perception of authority. If you step in as a project manager
Yeah.
and then the team members, they might consider you to be the most important and authoritative guy in this room.
Mm.
And maybe that's helpful, but maybe one culture is like that, looking to authorities. Others are more, the people who want to be autonomous in what they do. They don't accept authority so easily. So you have to be aware of this as a mediator, aware of this kind of potential gaps, and make sure you don't make decisions for them. They make decisions for the both of them.
So you're saying we bring them in a room and let them express what is the situation, listen to
Yeah,
both sides,
yeah,
and sometimes the conflict can be resolved by just talking, bringing them together,
yeah,
or highlighting the key points of where we should be, why we should be agreeing on something, and highlighting the importance of because of the criticality of the project or program. Because
yeah.
if we are here to solve the problem or get the project work done, not just looking at the personal grievances or personal
Yeah.
problems.
Well,
Uh,
but the point is, they have emotions, both
yeah,
of them probably, and before you can really tackle a factual problem, you have to smooth down these emotions. So it's very good to start with Germans, for instance, to ask them, how do you feel now?
yeah,
And maybe they are open and say, honest, say, "Oh, I feel hurt." And
yeah.
maybe you ask the other one, and he also says, "I feel hurt." So if then a kind of empathy comes in, because everybody says, "Oh, why is he hurt? He just hurt me." He is the aggressor, and everybody thinks of the other one as the aggressor. You have to put it down. You have to create some
Hey,
understanding on the emotional level.
uh,
Then, when you happen to smooth down the emotion, then you can discuss about, okay, what is the problem here, to make a progress.
See, my view on the conflict is like why two people or two parties can have conflict. One is the point of view. Now we're looking the same thing. Let's say I'm showing my hand. Thomas, can you describe my hand, the palm? And you describe it as a no, it's not like this. I see differently. I'm seeing the backside of this.
Yeah, yeah,
My view is different. Now, as a mediator or as a person, as a project manager, you're going to show, hey guys, you're not wrong. Either of you are not wrong, but your point of view is different. If you see his point of view and you see his point of view, then you can understand the other point of view. Then, oh yeah, I think you're right. Because
yeah,
yeah, he's seeing from this angle. His angle is this, or top to bottom, bottom to up, uh, and that's where the common ground we can find.
yeah. So the perspectives people have are different, and you can uh, you can open their eyes that you see the other's perspective. That's one point. But
Yeah,
but, but again, if they are entering the room and they are angry at each other, there is no point in showing perspectives. You first have to bring them down from the emotions they might have, and you have to understand, do they have emotions, or not. And yeah, it's like with kids, if kids are quarreling and they come to you as a father or uncle or whatever, then, or grandpa now, I don't know, then be calm, be calm, be calm. Sit down, huh? And then breath slowly, and then you get a little bit damping the emotions, and that's necessary, because if they are excited and full of adrenaline and aggression coming into the room, they will not be open to listen to perspectives.
Yeah, and especially when you talk about this multicultural environment, let's say somebody coming from Saudi Arabia, another person coming from China, other person coming from India, somebody coming from Germany. It's the same thing, but they see differently because of the bringing up
Yeah,
and yeah. So
definitely. Yeah,
so that's why it's more important in the multicultural environment to show them different perspective, what German person is seeing, what Saudi Arabian person is seeing, based on the religious upbringing and whatever it is. Then when they see each other points, and I do take a point when they are angry, upset, they have gun in the hand, gun in the hand, then we can't do much. But rather is go out and see, let them fight and you know bring somebody else in between, not you.
take away the guns, and yeah, you have to take away the guns. Otherwise, maybe it's even so. If you have, let's say, a German having a conflict with an Indian guy, maybe it's not the best idea to have a German as a mediator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody neutral,
because
somebody who do not see, I mean,
yeah,
at some HR, again, it's not easy for you to find the right, person who's not biased. One way or other, if they're girl in Vidwan, you are also girl, so then little bit biasness there. If you're from particular country, you have the biasness.
yeah,
So it is very common. I mean, I tell you one. I was in the jury duty, and this jury duty, and this guy, the person who's blamed for some murder or something, he is from the same country, and that other girl from the, I think, Egypt or somebody somewhere, and this girl is also from the same country. So everybody else can see that he's guilty, but she's not seeing that
yeah,
because of the biasness she has,
yeah,
of because of the same country origin.
yeah.
So anyway,
Because you were saying you were on a jury for a real life case. I served on PMI's ethics review committee,
yeah, yeah,
and everything we did was conflict resolutions between members who were blaming some or claiming somebody else breached the ethics code of ethics, and then they turned in evidence and a complaint and everything, and the committee's task was to analyze these evidence to see if there's a case.
yeah,
Sometimes we just said there is no case, there is no evidence, um, but I recall, the most of these complaints were very, very emotional,
yeah,
because people really, before they take action to file a complaint and put all the documents together, there has to be a lot of energy built up, and it's not that you do it lightly. And then it's only, it's not a legal code, it's just the ethics code of PMI, and somehow for them it's the last resort because they were not able to sue somebody in a courtyard. Yeah, so they try to go to the ethics review committee and file that. And we had a lot of cases, so it's not that it's a toothless wolf. It's really that we also could revoke somebody's membership, revoke somebody's certification, publish this. This is very, and then maybe your career is over if you are published as a violator of the code of ethics.
yeah. All right. Let me go to the next question. What are some of the common source of conflict in multicultural settings, and how can project manager proactively identify them and address these issues before they escalate?
Yeah. Well, the cultural differences, for sure. This is an additional source of conflict because there are different perspectives, different way of
Yeah,
behaviors, and again, you have to establish this kind of, if it's not a workshop, somehow this cultural awareness,
yeah,
and the Hofstede thing is a good way to do that. There are a lot of tools of that, and then how can you somehow uh, let's say, prepare them to behave in a way that is acceptable to everybody. Yeah, you have to look for team norms, the best thing, you have a team charter, or you normalize how do we things in our team, and this might be um, very well opposed to what how they are doing things in their company at all, because as a project manager, it's very important that you establish a kind of team behavior. So they and maybe team symbols even. I always in teams I try to find a mascot or an image, which represents this team and the uniqueness of that team. And the team is unique because if you go to different countries, you will have always different people coming in. It's a unique team and a unique situation.
Yeah.
You have to deal with that. And then what's also important, have a really open communication. And that's not typical for all cultures. Some cultures which have a very strict view on authority, they don't dare to go to the manager for something.
Yeah.
In Germany, it's easy. We have an open door, and everybody can come in and complain or tell something, tell a problem, whatever. Nobody will be blamed for that. But in other culture, you might resist doing that. So that's one, and it's not even an Asian culture, whatever. It's I understand that some French people, are very much reluctant to decide anything if they not inform their French manager. And then you can ask them for a decision or for an opinion. They will be reluctant to do that. They will not feel very positive about it. But if you ask for a German, we are used to take our own decisions and then go on. So that's something. Also saw it with some Indian guys, that they are reluctant to decide on matters because they don't feel empowered enough from their local management. That's sometimes the case. And then technology can help a lot in these days. You have AI, and so if you we all have now these AI bots in meetings who make summaries of it, and also can tell who said some what at which point of time. There is a factual documentation of any meeting,
Yeah.
even if you don't write it down. So, and then there are a lot of tools who are enabling collaboration, and uh, voice recognition, and all of sentiment and analysis. So you can do a lot. And then always, you have your team meetings maybe once a week. Try to put in some team building measures every. And if it's only reminding of the differences in cultures, or introducing some cultural assets. So if you very natural, if you go to Japan, you talk about food and maybe singing karaoke and try to implement that. Maybe not in the status meeting, but in the evening you do that anyhow. Or in other cultures, in Argentina, you do some dancing, tango. You could implement these cultural assets, and then they people from that culture feel proud of it. The others learn something, and although they
Yeah.
create a feeling of okay, a feeling of humility. It's not all about what I know. They have some assets. So I was reminded of one of the projects. We were on a project for a year, and I had somebody who was my QA guy in a project.
Yeah.
Talking care about all the quality plan and all of that, and he was very strict, and he was not very liked in the team. But then we had a big team meeting with a customer, and he went to the piano and he played the piano. This changed the impression of that guy in the whole team,
Mm.
forever. And he was very much liked after that because he showed a human side that was not known before. And you get a whole personality if you have this kind of, let's say, open forums where people can show their private
Yeah.
capabilities. Yeah, nobody knew about it. Another way to not to enforce, but to promote, this kind of team building is gaming. the famous Lego game, or you can do some games around dinners, some organization. So gamification is also something, a technique that the project manager should be interested in and into learning. So I've learned about that. Not sure if you know the octalysis methodology. It's a gamification framework, and if you didn't hear about it, you might Google it, Octalysis. It's available for free, some things, but you can also buy things, and it gives you a whole set of techniques you could use for gamification. And gamification is, a lot about, keeping people within the game. If you were there once, you get maybe some bonus points. You are enforced, and you come back, and then you are caught. This kind of influencing tools uh, can be enforced by gamification, especially that octalysis.
Exactly. So yeah, first thing first, what are the common source of conflicts, and
Yeah,
especially you are working with this. We talked about multicultural environment. You have people from China, from Japan, from India, from Saudi Arabia, from Chile, Argentina. You know, think about the way they are everybody perceive the same thing. Like let's say you form a soccer team like that.
yeah,
One soccer team with the multiple people. It's one of the big challenge now.
yeah, yeah. And now one popular uh, um, uh, thing, or asset, where you have different perspectives, is timing.
Mhm.
So some cultures are very punctual, like the
Yeah,
Germans, right, like to come on point. Japanese too, even
yeah.
more. But then you go to Latin America, they more let it easy, and so I. I heard the story of a friend of mine who is Brazilian, and he told me, okay, we invite for a party at 8 o'clock in the evening, but we expect people to come at 11. And the German who shows up at 8, he might catch me when I'm still in the shower or preparing the food or whatever. No,
Yeah,
you have to understand this.
yeah. So that's another thing as a project manager or program manager, you should also know the norms and expectation. When let's say I now I run a few program in India as well, and the class time is 9 o'clock. People coming 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'm looking. Are you serious? It's 9 o'clock start, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, you're in India, isn't it? You also you know how we behave.
Exactly, exactly,
You
exactly.
saw so much traffic, and so look, I don't. I mean, yesterday, last 3 days, I was in a class, and this is the first time I've seen my 10 people. They was there even before me coming. Like the class was starting 8 o'clock. They were there around 7:35, and they are ready. And 8 o'clock dot, I started the class. So I really enjoyed. I finished on time, and I was much more in. That's why I really enjoyed, because I can see the time management is there. I'm finishing the time break and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, understanding about, you said Latin America or maybe Argentina, wherever, or India, and if you work for Japanese people and German people, they have a different custom, or when they say 8 o'clock means 8 o'clock, and when Indians say 8 o'clock means okay, 10 o'clock maybe, if
Some
I'm lucky.
Somewhere, yeah, yeah. So
So
yeah,
yeah, so you need to be aware of these different point. I think good idea to study about not just 1 or 2 days of in a classroom, but having some interaction, having a good discussion with the local people. So if you have to work in a country, if you go there and try to be, as locals are doing. Remember, you are the one foreigner. Other people are living. They respect you. They see you differently. But more you get involved into them, they see you as part of them. Oh, you're trying to adopt.
yeah.
And I think I told you in some of the discussion, when I was working for Steel Authority of India Limited Sale back in India. The team I was working with from Germany. And I remember his name was Tom. The Tom, maybe I'm mixing up with you name. You looks like you at the time, and they said, "Dharam, chai time, samosa time." Okay, whew. This European person is talking like a Indian people, and it's okay. He literally go to the place where even as the executive, we don't want to go there, but he is going there. This shows that he is adopting in the local culture
Yeah,
and local language, local food. But that's how we should be doing, understanding more and more from the locals.
yeah. But you have to avoid to overdo it. To become too comfortable,
Yeah,
trying to show that you have adapted, because people might say, okay, a little bit too much, maybe.
yeah. And look, I mean, whatever it can work for the person. But yeah, if you go to a new culture, new country, and I'm superior than them, or I'm not superior. I'm actually just a person coming from this country. So that feeling, as long as they have I'm superior or inferior, that also bring they see differently to each other. So more you can adopt if you're coming from a third world country, of course, maybe some African country or something. You of course it take time for you to see differently, and a person coming from the more what do you call the first nation, first world country, they don't see everything as anyway. So those are different things. More you can adopt with the culture, more you become part of that, and I think that's where the project success and all things happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do PMI stand now? Given that you are into PMI and you have been involved, how do PMI standards and guidelines assist project managers in resolving conflict within multicultural teams? So, do you have any example or specific
Yeah.
framework from PMI? I think we have something in PMBOK 6th edition, 7th edition.
Yeah, yeah, we have certainly in PIMBOK there is something, or let's say around PIMBOK. First,
Mm.
PIMBOK gives the good advice. Conflict is inevitable.
Yeah,
You have it. Yeah, if you like it or not, you have to somehow get accustomed to it, and develop, let's say, habits how to deal with conflicts. Not only that you are part of a conflicting party, but you are also, as a project manager, you are the default mediator for many conflicts.
yeah,
So what PIMBOK also, somehow, I don't know if it's written in there, but it calls about active listening and mediation and emotional intelligence and Hofstede's dimension. All this is somehow a part of the PIMBOK, and PIMBOK also gives that two times two matrix. Saying, okay, um, if I force you and you force me and I do nothing, so this is, you avoid conflict. But if everybody, well, they understand there's a conflict and they may be feeling bad about it, but they are not courageous enough to step up and do something.
yeah,
You could force the other party, which is maybe a little bit more back. Maybe because of cultural differences. People are not stepping up, but you can force them. That's what often. Well, I was blamed in the beginning of my career, as a German, forcing others to do something. You could yield, compromise, and all of these are not the best solution. The best solution, according to PIMBOK, is to collaborate,
yeah,
to avoid your emotions and to work on the problem, and then have a win-win situation.
yeah,
And collaboration might be the only way to have a win-win situation. All others, might be win-lose or lose-lose, even, which is the worst thing you have. Even compromise.
yeah,
With compromise, you lose something, and depending on the level of compromise, you might have a lose-lose or even a small win-win. But the best win-win is if you jointly work on the problem, bring in your perspectives and your capabilities, and then you could have a wonderful solution. Another thing that PMI standards give, is what they now call power skills in the talent triangle. It was soft skills or leadership skills before. which are much more like this: communication, problem solving, collaborative leadership, strategic thinking, emotional intelligence again, and then the interpersonal skills, cultural awareness,
Mm.
facilitation, negotiation is also something. If you have a conflict, uh, you negotiate out of the conflict always, because negotiation is involving emotions also, because you are threatened or not, you don't know what's happening, it's an ambiguity in options and so on. And then we have in PMBOK what you also learn, the Tuckman ladder,
Mm.
it's, forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning, these five
Yeah.
steps every team goes through. And even if it's not at the beginning only that the team goes through it, but if you have new members entering, other members go out. If a team is somehow changing, with different members and cultures, then this starts again, and you have to redo it. And to mention, let's say, one of the most important guidances for intercultural, for global standard, is the PMI Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct,
Yeah.
because there are four values in there that really should drive every project manager and everybody on the project, like the value for respect, responsibility, honesty, and fairness. And uh, and and these are some common human values. Everybody can feel them, and everybody feels if they are broken. And then, you should be able, if you look in the details of the code of ethics, then you can even say, okay, give me some guidance to behave. And this would be not a bad thing to open up such a team discussion. How should we behave? First of all, this is our Bible, the code of ethics, and then you go on.
Yeah, you can record these as agree in the team norms in the team charter.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you have any conflicts or misunderstanding, how do we resolve? It's not only you involved. Team are empowered to resolve themselves, to
right, right.
how we get together, go to the room, and try to figure out the commonalities and differences, and maybe you can come to the point. Okay, you cannot always have win-win situation. How can we still move on? I mean, yes, compromise one thing where you say lose lose, but maybe that's the best way to continue the journey. Otherwise, you mess too much into the conflict, and your project deadlines are missing out. Your client is shouting at you, hey, what about, they don't care what's happening in your laundry. They want to know the product services. Give me the, what I'm looking for. So you need to be sensitive about your promises, or the vision of the
Sure.
project, what you have to give to the client, the product services. So
Yeah.
that's where PMI also talk about, you know depends on urgency. Sometimes we have urgency, my way or highway, I don't care, everybody go to the work and work on it. Or sometimes let's try to resolve it, and so that everybody can win out of this.
Well, it's if you have this as a project manager, always you are in
Yeah.
between the demands from the customer and your superiors, whatever, and the team, and everybody has demands towards you, and you have to balance it out. And it's so you need to have a kind of let's say, self confidence to do that, and you are regarded from both sides how you behave.
Yeah.
And that's the point, that not everybody wants to be a project manager, because you are in between these two forces. uh, but my advice would be, if you look at your team, sharpen your saw, make your team self-sufficient, make your team um, stable and well acting in the cultural environment, so that you get less demands from your team, which maybe are just expressions of bad emotions and conflicts going on.
Yeah, so I think that's where the stakeholder engagement, building relationship, as the project manager, one thing, whether it's senior manager or your colleagues and your reportees, you build relationship with them. So sometimes if you good relationship, we can solve the situation conflict more easily compared to people see you differently. as they don't see you as a friend. They may not come to you for when the conflict is happening. You want them to come, and early stage if some conflict is happening, so we can find the resolution early enough, or find come out of this early.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask my next question. Could you provide a real world case study where effective conflict resolution strategies significantly improved the outcome of multicultural project?
Yeah,
What are the key takeaway from that?
I have actually many of these stories in my head. Uh, Take one. We had a team of 120 people in Pune in India who
Hmm.
were dealing with bug fixing. We had a ticketing system, and the customer could say this and that is wrong, and they were trying to fix it. And so one bug, was then sent to India, and they fixed it within 2 hours. Wonderful. But the same bug came up, plopped up a week after.
Mm.
So the quick was a quick fix. It was not a permanent, not a thorough fix. And this happened 3 times, and then the customer started to complain.
Yeah. Mm.
And we Germans said, yes, what's happening? So we found out, that it really was a quick fix. The guy said, okay, this is happening. We will repair it and go back, and then it's fine. And the cultural gap here is between our team in India. I'm not sure if it's true for all Indians, and the German and Japanese punctuality and quality expectations. In India, it's okay if you survive the next day, because because the world is changing so much. So you don't have this, let's say, automatic sustainable thinking. In Germany, we created Mercedes Benz, which runs for 50 years. Yeah, and then they need an oil change or whatever, you know. But you would not have such a car in India, because it's maybe you have all these rains and whatever, things. Life is much quicker in India, so than it is in Germany or in Japan. So we had really, and luckily we had people in Pune doing this discussion. We had to talk with the team and say, look, um, we have a gap in expectations, perceptions about the thoroughness of a bug fix, and we are not looking to survive the next day, but we are looking to survive the next 20 years.
Yeah.
That, and that was a cultural gap, and we had to explain it by a team session. We had
Yeah.
first to identify what was happening and why, and then explain it, and then situation improved, because the team we had gathered then was not stable. New people came in and old people went out. So the knowledge about this discussion also vanished over time, but we had to redo it. But that was one of the learnings in this outsourcing relationship. Another example, if you want to hear that, is when I was coming with a European team from the UK, Germany, Italy, to Japan, and trying to sell a solution for Japan, yeah, which was difficult enough because Japanese are very proud and self-sustainable. They don't accept foreigners to give them good advice. That is a big deal. And then we pre-presented the solution, this offering, to the client, and they said no, not good. And then we had to redo it. So we had, in the morning at 9 o'clock, we had a presentation about this new solution, and in the evening at 8 o'clock, we heard about that. So it means a night session, and then we had a team session, staying up all night. This was about 4 or 5 Japanese from the Japanese IBM team, and 5 or 6 Europeans which were there, and the Europeans then sat together, and the Japanese watched, mainly because we were owners of the solutions. We had to change it. And in this session in the night, we started yelling at each other. So we instilled conflict. We instilled aggression, to to put in this adrenaline we needed to think about new things. Yeah, and the Japanese, yeah, they would never behave that way. And they saw how a European team, and it's not German, it was a UK guy who was maybe the loudest and most aggressive guy, and Italian. Well, they talk a lot with the hands, but we were standing up and yelling at each other. And in the end, we had a perfect presentation at 9 o'clock, and the Japanese really said, okay. But it would be never the Japanese way of solving a problem. But if they are included in a global team, they have to understand that there are different ways of solving a problem.
Yeah, I think one thing we have to be open with, and coming back with my own example and own experiences, one is we, we have particular way of growing up. We have seen, let's say, German or Japanese or whatever, let's say American, whatever. So they have a particular way of seeing that is that we have structured way of solving problem. Do this, document it properly, and other person come, they get this thing done, and they have different way of, they may not document everything, but they solve the problem within. I tell you one actually very good example. When an HP, I was setting up the cloud data center for them, long time back, very early days, and we were on track, on time, but suddenly we got a backup problem, some backup related problem. I have no idea. So we decided that we're going to have 24 by 7, continuous cycle. When I finish, my team in Australia finish, it goes to the European team, to the American, and then continue. So this was 7 days where everybody trying very structured way of doing this, solving this, today. And there was the Indian guy. He's going to join the team in my team as the operation manager. And I was just explaining him, look, Dharam, give me half an hour. I'll solve the problem. Somehow, 15-minute time, Dharam, problem solved. Woo. So yes, we have a structure. Sometimes we go too much into structured way, formal process, raise this issue and track it. All these are great, but sometimes the focus is on solving the problem. Get the problem solution, and documentation can happen at later stage. So there's a different way. It's not about me defending our Indians and the way we do, because we try to make the things possible. Yes, in that process, sometimes it's not the permanent fix. So we try again, try it, try it better. Anyway, so that's a different discussion.
Yeah, sure.
So
If you're working across countries, across cultures, everybody has a lot of stories to tell where
yeah,
where they learn something basically.
and there is a strength, and that's where it's beauty of working in multicultural environment,
Yes.
because people think differently. If we have a team, everybody thinks same way, same growing up and same way of thinking, same way of looking then you will not get to the solution so easily. But somebody come different point of view, different, let's see from this angle, that angle, you may find better solution in the shorter time.
Yeah.
So as a project manager or program manager, whatever you are, so you need to know who are your team, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses. Everybody has some weakness, strength. Instead of putting, competing each other, hey, he is good, he is so good in presentation, you are not good in presentation, you bringing, a conflict anyway. Rather, this person is good in talking, you're very good in social skills, this person technical. Why don't you three together work together? Remember, you are technically great, this person is social, so you can make friends, this person can do the presentation. So now, instead of finding, this is your problem, that problem, we are complementing each other. That's where the team culture works really well, as from the project point of view.
True.
Okay,
This conference will now be recorded.
so Thomas, anything else you want to add on top of it?
Well, yeah, Dharam, I think what's uh, the conclusion for me, not only for conflicts, but if you are a program manager or a project manager and you work in an international environment with different cultures, it's so enriching, and I really love being able to do that for my company IBM, but also for PMI, both of them helped me to go global. I visited about 100 countries in the world, and it changed my life. It changed my perspectives. It made me more resilient, and it also gave me the opportunity to build a network of global friends. And to be honest, if you don't uh, push people too hard, and you might be a bad guy. But normally, if you are in a team, people are very happy if you are successful together, and that what is really what builds you up, makes you more wise, makes you more mature, and makes you resilient, and that's you when you can live a happy life.
Yeah. So look at, thank you for all this contribution. We have still more discussion on this topic will when we meet next time. But for the time being, we know this how important it is. How this, and there's no other option nowadays, because believe it or not, you are working or you're going to work more and more in global environment or multicultural environment. So as a project manager, program manager, you need to learn how can be a better program manager, project manager in multicultural environment, understanding from different point of view, and work with them, look at the strength, look at the weakness, how can I have a perfect team using different people from different continent, different religion, or different whatever language they're coming from.
Yeah.
So with this, I think we can conclude, and next time we'll talk more about this topic. And as usual, thank you, Thomas. You have been doing great job, and you're helping me to build this knowledge pool. And more we talk, more people benefit out of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dharam, and to the audience. Uh, just reach out. Travel, and you will benefit from it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Watch the videos, talk to them. Yeah, book me or book my time. Thomas is very open. He will help you with anything and everything. Not everything, but yeah, yeah. So keep learning. And Thomas, I will see you soon. Take care. All the best.
Bye bye.
Bye.